Hi, welcome to Prime Recap. Four warriors join together on a journey to recover the most powerful weapons in the universe and stop the world from being overrun by an army of zombies. Today we will recap the second season of the series, Kung Fu Panda: The Dragon Knight, from 2023. In the first season of this adventure, the Dragon Warrior fought alongside Blade to stop the two evil warlocks. Klaus and Veruca intend to unite the four weapons of Tianshang to resurrect an undead army with the goal of dominating the planet. Now the fate of the world is in the hands of Po and his newly formed elite squad. Together, they must prevent the four magic weapons from falling into the hands of the weasels. The quartet makes the long journey to India, Rukmini's home, to find the rest of the Tianshang weapons. Veruca and Klaus already have the gauntlet. On the other hand, Rukmini has the Whip of Fire, which can also transform into a staff. Now two more weapons remain to be found. Among them are the Storm Wheels. And to find it, the group needs the Mastodon Master's Pendant. Rukmini claims to know where to find the jewel and goes after Dia, her former partner in crime, because she knows she has the pendant. Upon arriving in town, the trio takes a break for a gastronomic experience while Rukmini cleans up the stalls. While stealing one of the items, the thief is caught by Jayesh, the ruler of that town, and Po shows up to get her out before the monkey gets into trouble. The quartet then gets together again, and Rukmini guides her colleagues to her former hiding place, in which she lived alongside Dia. However, when she opens the door, she is surprised to realize that the place has been transformed into a restaurant and a recreation center for the town's children. There, Rukmini meets Dia, but the rodent pretends not to know her. Furious, the monkey attacks her former partner and manages to win the duel. When she realizes that he will not be able to get rid of Rukmini, Dia drags her into the kitchen. Squirrel tells that she did indeed find the Mastodon Master's Pendant, but since she couldn't figure out how to use it, she decided to sell the stone. Just then, Blade appears with a necklace and claims to have found the item they were looking for. Dia says that this is just an ordinary piece of jewelry, but runs after the bear to retrieve it. Just as Blade was about to throw the necklace into the river, the rodent decides to tell the truth and tells her that she sold the real pendant to Jayesh. The bear then returns the necklace to Dia, and she gives it to Blade. The former thief tells her that she found that souvenir on her last mission, but never had the opportunity to give it to her partner. Now that the two have made up, Dia decides to help her recover the pendant. Jayesh considers this item one of the most valuable in his collection and keeps it locked in a special safe. To get in there, the group will need to steal the key and bypass the guards. Dia tells her that night there will be an engagement party to celebrate the union of her daughter, Padma, and Jayesh. After getting past the serpent guards, the group infiltrates the castle. Blade's mission is to distract the host until Rukmini can get the key. Mr. Ping, Po's father, is responsible for watching over Jayesh and giving the signal as soon as he enters the palace. To prevent the mission from failing, the clumsy panda's only job is to bask at the snack table while his group does all the work. While waiting for Ping's signal, the thief takes the opportunity to clean up after the guests and does not notice when the goose gives the signal. Even so, Blade goes to distract the elephant and follows him to the castle. Lost in the middle of an island, Veruca and Klaus search for a way down from the trees, as they have ended up trapped there after escaping with the gauntlet. Suddenly, they are attacked by marauders who steal all their food. However, Veruca does not allow them to get away with this and uses her powers to chase down the thieves. The weasel knows that the golden helmet, the third magic weapon, is in that place and captures one of the looters in order to get information about its whereabouts. To their surprise, they find Nigel, an ancient wizard from their kingdom, and Klaus rushes to free him. Meanwhile, at the castle, Blade fulfills the deal and distracts the elephant, but Rukmini is still busy stealing the jewels from the guests and Ping asks his son to help him get the key. While Jayesh shows some of his paintings to the bear, Po manages to get the key and runs straight to the vault. After entering the room, he spots several traps to prevent the jewel from being stolen and Ping decides to keep watch while the panda tries to get through the red wires without triggering the bell. Rukmini appears soon after and helps keep an eye on the guards. With the help of a pair of chopsticks, Po manages to get the pendant and Blade is reunited with his friends. However, just as they are about to leave the palace, the group realizes that they have fallen into a trap. They were betrayed by Dia, who told the elephant that a group of undercover thieves would try to steal the pendant that night. The rodent does all this to win the trust of her future son-in-law. After catching them in the act, Jayesh orders his guards to take those evildoers to jail and Rukmini is sentenced to pay for all her thefts. After a few minutes of searching for a way out of that cell, Blade finds a secret passage and destroys the floor so that everyone can escape. While trying to convince Jayesh to release her, Rukmini discovers the elephant's true intentions and why he wants to marry Padma. Dia is the second richest person in town, and by marrying her daughter, the Demented One will have possession of all that land. In this way, he can destroy the city and turn it into a parking lot for future profits. After revealing his evil plan, Jayesh goes to the ceremony. What he didn't realize is that his prisoners have broken free and are about to destroy his wedding. Meanwhile, Nigel takes the weasels to the village where the wizards are living. The goat explains that after Veruca was arrested, the mages had to flee England and sailed for months until they found that island. There was water there, but none of the fruit was edible. The mages believed they would starve to death until they found the helmet that could control the wind, and in this way they began to attract ships of supplies to the island. Veruca then asks where the helmet is, and Nigel says that the Archmage will show her. Just then, Kyle appears and Veruca is furious to find that the mole has taken his place. Despite knowing that without that helmet all mages will be doomed, Veruca insists on getting it and is willing to use her gauntlet to achieve this goal. Hanging just above a campfire, Rukmini must swing to get a knife to cut the rope. After freeing herself, she sets off in search of her friends. Poe and Blade break into the ceremony and are attacked by the serpent guards, but the monkey arrives just in time to help them. Meanwhile, the couple go 7 rounds around the campfire to make their marriage official. During the battle, Jayesh places the pendant on Padma's neck and makes the union official. Still, Ping tries to steal it and ends up breaking the stone. All seemed lost when the jewel suddenly begins to glow and the light invades the goose's body. Then Mr. Ping opens his eyes and Poe realizes that something is wrong. He despairs when he realizes that his father has been possessed and is attacking his friends. The spirit introduces itself as Master Mastodon and states that no one else should wield Tianshang's weapons. In an attempt to get rid of that demented spirit, the trio hides underground, but are pursued and Poe manages to grab his father's body. Ping is in an internal battle with that spirit and finally manages to regain control of his body. However, the spirit of Master Mastodon returns and goes after his enemies. Rukmini then uses the Whip of Fire to bury him and buy time for his friends to escape. However, when the goose gets loose and begins to terrorize the town, Jayesh orders his guards to attack it, but the spirit ends up winning the battle. The 3 warriors then use the whip as bait to lure him in, and Poe tries to get his father to regain consciousness. When the spirit finally manages to get the whip and is pestering to eliminate the panda, Ping takes control, as he refuses to allow anyone to harm his son. He is now able to allow the spirit to manifest itself according to his will, and Poe enlists the help of Master Mastodon to prevent the 2 weasels from taking possession of the 4 weapons. Determined to prevent such powerful weapons from falling into the wrong hands, the spirit decides to help them on this journey and promises to guide them to the storm wheels. In a dispute over the helmet, Veruca and Kyle start a duel, and the weasel uses her powers to trap her enemy. His only chance to save himself is to use his helmet to make the ship float, and in this way Kyle manages to avoid being crushed by roots. Then Veruca finds a distraction to attack him again, and during the fall, the mole ends up losing his helmet. After taking possession of the helmet, the weasel throws Kyle off the ship and sets off in search of the other 2 weapons. While saying goodbye to her former friend, Dia gives her a boat so they can sail to their final destination. At this point, Jayesh finally announces his true plans for that city. Now that he has married Padma, he has the right to do whatever he wants with that place. What he did not expect was that the young rodent also had a plan. She was the first to act and put all of Jayesh's assets, which after marriage also became her assets, into her mother's name. Therefore, Dia has become the sole owner of that place and claims that she will not allow the city to be destroyed. Days later, the quartet is lost in the middle of the ocean when Blade finds the island where the storm wheels are hiding. Hungry, they invade a cocoa plantation and, while feeding, are surprised by a group of warrior frogs. The battle between the 2 teams comes to an end when Master Mastodon reveals his identity and orders the frogs to stay out of his mission. Just then, the creatures decide to give the invaders shelter and food. Pelpil apologizes for attacking them and reveals that all the hostility was because his farm is regularly plundered. According to him, the robbers will attack that night and his group has set an ambush to capture them. While the amphibians go to fight, Poe and his friends are left in charge of protecting the cocoa plantation. However, upon seeing a giant metal monster approaching, the quartet decides to intervene and ends up disrupting the frogs' plan. The scorpion follows them into the forest, but the group is eventually defeated, as they are unable to penetrate that iron fortress. Pelpil then reveals his new plan, in which the invaders will need to risk their lives to lure the scorpion straight into the trap. In this way they manage to capture the creature and discover that it is a machine, not a living being. The footprints indicate that the person who was controlling the robot managed to escape, and new robot scorpions appear. Suddenly a thunderstorm arises and lightning strikes the machines. At that instant Master Mastodon discovers that someone is using his storm wheel. Pelpil and his friends know him to be the protector of the island, but do not know his true identity. The next morning, the quartet helps Pelpel take the Scorpion to his cousin's workshop so that he can find out who built that machine. Upon arriving there, Blade interrogates Amek and he tells the story of when he was saved by the Protector. Since the frog had no clue to his whereabouts, the two bears interrogate other townspeople to gather some clues and get even more confused. Each of those questioned reports a different appearance when describing the great hero of that island, making it even more difficult to find the true bearer of the storm wheels. Poe then claims to have an idea to attract the Protector and, with the help of his team, takes the Scorpion back to the top of the hill. They intend to stage an attack, but the machine stops working, causing Poe and Rukmini to be in real danger. Panda uses his own body to try to stop the robot, but the Protector appears to save them. At that moment, they join forces to attack him in order to recover the weapon, but they are beaten badly until the Protector decides to leave. Blade and Poe run after it, but the creature moves too fast and the duo cannot catch up with it. Their best chance is to join the other residents of the town in a stadium, where a Pak Ta Pak tournament takes place. This way, the group can observe all of them to try to find the real Protector. After a few minutes, they find the possible Protector. Zuma is the ruler of Tikal and is being surrounded by dozens of guards, so the quartet cannot even get close to her. Therefore, the group challenges the winning team of the tournament to a match. Whoever wins will have the chance to talk to Zuma. To beat the Blood Brothers, the Dragon team will need to score 50 points by passing the ball through the opponent's hoop. Blade refuses to participate in that game, so the rest of the group enters the arena and the contest begins. Ping and Rukmini soon get knocked down and Poe needs to catch the ball from the armadillos before they win the match. The Dragon team is already losing 15-0 when Panda goes to beg for Blade's help. At that moment, the bear tells him that when she is in a competition, something dark overwhelms her. To help her team, she decides to participate in the game, but claims that after unleashing this beast that lives inside her body, she will not be able to answer for her actions. When Blade enters the field, the game changes and the Blood Brothers are at a disadvantage. Even Rukmini, a member of their group, takes a few hits from the warrior. Blade cannot contain her instincts and ends up attacking her opponents. Because of this, one of the players needs to be removed from the field. To replace him, Ba, a small armadillo, is called in, and Poe takes on the responsibility of keeping him away from his partner, lest he be eliminated. While talking to the little guy, Panda discovers that the armadillos are competing because they need to ask for Zuma's help, as they are suffering from water shortages in their village. Upon hearing this, Poe tries to talk to Blade, but she completely ignores him and continues with her game strategy. However, when it has the opportunity to annihilate Ba, the bear manages to regain its consciousness and gives up the game. Poe is willing to let the armadillos win, but Rukmini ends up making the last missing point and gives her team the victory. As agreed, the winning team gets a chance to talk to Zuma and are very well received by her. Then, Blade claims to know the identity of the Protector of Tikal, and Master Mastodon attacks the Tigress in an attempt to retrieve his storm wheels. After stopping the goose, Zuma claims that she only has one wheel, as the other was stolen by the scientist who is using the weapon to terrorize those people. Therefore, the Queen decided to create a secret identity to protect the residents of the island and became known as Protector. Blade counters that if Zuma doesn't deliver the storm wheels to them, Veruca will soon show up to get them and won't mind destroying Tikal if need be. Upon hearing this, the Queen decides to give in and states that she will hand over her wheel to the group. However, she will only do this after they manage to get the weapon from the mad scientist, so that she cannot use it against her people. So the group goes in search of the inventor who created those scorpions and finds the volcano she uses to forge the machines. As soon as they arrive at the place, they are met by two giant monsters, but with teamwork they manage to defeat them. Just as they were about to storm the place, the Weasel brothers appear in their flying ship. Rukmini uses her flaming whip to try to stop them, but Veruca fights back with her gauntlet and a big explosion happens. At this point, Blade and Poe are thrown away and the whole team is unable to fight. Seeing his new partners in danger, the Master Mastodon decides to act and uses his whip to capture Veruca, who tries to defend herself with her gauntlet. Due to the impact of the explosion, the volcano begins to crack, and to the Dragon Group's surprise, a bird that was in control of the Scorpion helps them hide. Akna guides the team through her laboratory, which was built inside the volcano, and uses the scorpions to lead them to her home. Surprisingly, Poe and his friends discover that Akna lives in the same village as the Armadillo brothers, and the only reason they steal the food from the other crops is because their land is extremely dry and unproductive. Upon seeing the little rabbit that Blade carries, Akna reveals that she is the one who built it. Many years ago, when her village began to suffer from drought, a knight appeared and was looking for a legendary weapon. Alfie asked Akna to help him talk to the queen, and then they discovered that Zuma was the bearer of the storm wheels. She used the weapon to steal all the rain, and because of this, all the surrounding villages, including Akna's, lived in constant drought. Alfie tried to steal the weapon, but with the help of the bird, he managed to get only one of the wheels. After accomplishing his mission, he had to return to England and took the weapon. During the farewell, Akna handed the knight a gift so that he could give it to his little sister. Now, the bird knows that Blade is Alfie's sister and asks how he is doing. The bear then breaks the sad news and tells that her brother has been killed by Veruca. Upon discovering that the other wheel was taken to England several years ago, Blade goes into despair. Then, Poe has the idea to ask the frogs for help in retrieving the wheel that is in Zuma's possession. Suddenly, they spot Veruca's ship approaching and Pelpel helps them hide. The frog risks his own life by being interrogated by the two siblings, but refuses to tell on his friends. When Pelpel is captured, the dragon team decides to act, but the protector shows up to protect him and Veruca takes the opportunity to try to steal the weapon. Upon being attacked, Zuma discovers the true power of the gauntlet and uses her super speed to steal Veruca's weapons. She then attacks the ship and hurls it toward the volcano, not bothering to save Pelpel who, luckily, ends up falling on top of Poe's cuddly body. Desperate to get revenge on her brother, Blade abandons her team and rushes to the volcano in search of the two weasels. After unmasking their queen, the frogs decide to join their former enemies and help them build new scorpions. Upon arriving at the volcano, Blade finds Veruca, but before she can eliminate her, Klaus appears. As she is at a disadvantage, the bear decides to hide and the two siblings begin to hunt her down. When she manages to recover her sword, Blade attacks them with all her fury and captures Klaus. The bear claims that she will make Veruca feel the same pain she felt, but the truth is that the mage couldn't care less about her brother and uses her powers to escape, leaving Klaus behind. However, instead of eliminating her enemy, Blade decides to let him live and orders him to stay out of her way. Knowing that he will have to face an opponent who possesses 3 of the 4 Tianshang weapons, Master Mastodon tries to access his ancient powers, even though he knows that this will put Lu Ping's life in danger. When he lost his true body, the Master lost his connection to the elements of nature, and Poe asks him to teach him to connect with the elements so that his father will not be in danger. However, Mastodon refuses to train him, as he claims that the panda is not strong enough to access all this power. Poe then challenges him to a duel, and if he wins, he will prove himself worthy. However, during the fight, the Master manages to control the thunder, but the panda's attack causes him to be expelled from Ping's body. When he returns to the village, Blade realizes that an army of scorpions is ready for combat and the Mastodon Master has been expelled from Ping's body. Now his spirit resides in Poe, and the entire troop walks to Zuma's palace. When the queen goes to confront them, Pelpel unmasks her in front of all the townspeople, and Zuma claims not to know what he is talking about. The tigress orders her guards to face the enemies while she goes after her magic weapons. Seeing their leader destroying the city, the villagers discover the truth and decide to flee. Feeling abandoned by her people, Zuma intends to use the pyramid to destroy them, but Poe refuses to give up. With the help of Blade and Akna, the panda fights the tigress, but is eventually defeated by her. Believing that their friend is dead, the group decides to continue the battle so that Poe has not given up his life in vain. While the spirits of Master Mastodon and Poe are talking to each other, a black hole opens up. At that moment, the elephant explains that Tianshang's weapons are designed to trap the souls of enemies who are defeated by them. Thus, the soul of one of them needs to be taken away. Believing that the panda is the best chance to defeat Zuma, the Master decides to sacrifice himself. Blade was about to be destroyed by the gauntlet when Poe gets up and runs to save her. With the attack, Zuma loses her helmet and the pyramid begins to fall. Everyone would be doomed to die if not for Poe and Blade. They manage to retrieve the weapon and Panda uses the super speed given by the weapon to gather all the others and stop the pyramid from destroying the city. At the end of the battle, Zuma is arrested by her own people and Pelpel is elected as the new leader. Now the dragon team has a long journey to England in search of the second weapon, and Akna decides to accompany them. During the trip, as they wander across the vast ocean, Mr. Ping, observing the moon, realizes that it is the first day of the Lunar New Year. In China, this date is cause for great celebration and Poe decides to share the story of this tradition with his friends. Thousands of years ago, dangerous monsters roamed China, and the only ones capable of facing them were the hunters who risked their lives to protect the country. Over time, the hunters disappeared and all that remained were the stories of their great bravery. Few are left to protect the Chinese population, and among them is Poe, a lone wanderer who has traveled all over the country to prove himself as the greatest hunter of all time. One night, the traveler arrived in a village where he was very poorly received. He was tired and hungry, yet no one was willing to help him. Until Panda found the restaurant of an old goose who served him some dumplings. Suddenly, a terrifying beast invades the town and Blade is unable to defeat it. The hunter was about to be devoured when Po appears to confront him, but is also crushed by the creature. However, as the sun rises over the horizon, the monster flees with the promise that it will return the next night. Startled by what has just happened, the panda asks one of the villagers the reason for the attack, and Okna explains that every 12 months, on the longest night of the year, the spirit of the monster Nyen appears to terrorize them for 14 nights in a row. The attack only comes to an end when the light of a new full moon causes it to hibernate for another year. In order to ensure their survival, most of the villagers flee to the hills before nightfall and return only in the morning. Blade is one of the few people who remain in town, because she is determined to eliminate that monster. However, that night, she will have Po's help to carry out one more attempt to destroy Nyen and save her village. The monster chases Po to Mr. Ping's restaurant and manages to surround him. Just as Blade was about to eliminate the beast, the sun rises once again and Nyen leaves. This time, the creature has managed to destroy a large part of the village and the hunters are driven out of the place. The duo splits up and each follows their own destiny. After a few hours of walking, Po meets 3 locals who have decided to leave the city and start their lives over elsewhere. Worried for the other residents, the panda decides to make another attempt to stop Nyen and returns to the city to execute his plan that night. The plan is to distribute lanterns and fireworks throughout the village, because if the monster is resistant to daylight, why won't it be frightened by artificial light? When night comes, the creature appears for another visit, but this time the residents are prepared to fight back. Upon encountering the fireworks and red lanterns, Nyen becomes disoriented and is unable to attack. The hunters put on a dragon costume and start chasing him, causing real panic in the demon. To finish the light show, Okna releases a fireworks missile, causing Nyen to have no choice but to run away. From that day on, every year the village threw a big party full of lights and food to scare the monsters away, and they never suffered any attacks again. After telling the story of the Chinese New Year, Po feels even closer to his friends and promises that he will continue to stand by them no matter what happens on this journey. So what did you think of this movie? Leave it in the comments below. And if you liked the video, please like and subscribe for more movie recaps. See you next time.